Hello and welcome to Engage monthly webinar from QS. Just introductions first of all. My name is Scott Younger. I'm marketing account manager here at QS, and I'll pass over to Lois.
I am Lois Olale, marketing account manager here at QS as well.
Great
Over
stuff.
to
So
you,
yeah,
Scott.
thank you. Thank you very much. And yeah, so thank you very much, everyone, for joining us today. I'm just going to quickly have a little bit of an introduction and then discuss our sort of topic for today. So as you might have guessed from the title, we're talking about reviews today, and particularly online reviews. And the topic is all about how to get more 5-star reviews and then what you can do with them. And I think it's very important these days, obviously with the digital landscape that you're working with. Most people, when they're looking for a solicitor or looking for legal advice of any kind, the first thing they do is jump on Google. So with that, essentially, if they're Googling your firm, they will see your online reviews, the reviews you've got, the average of your reviews. So it's very important that you sort of pay that some attention, and wherever possible, see if there's ways that you can improve your review score, try to get more reviews where possible, and essentially give yourself the best chance of getting clients coming to you and being impressed by your online reputation that you've built up on those Google reviews. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about online reviews in terms of resilience as well, because it's something that often is not necessarily thought about in terms of when usually it's all about, oh yeah, I want to have a good review rating, but it's also very important to think about how resilient is your current review rating. So I'm just going to share my screen. I've got a nice little slide on this one. So in terms of online reviews, the more reviews you have, essentially, the more resilient your current score is. So wherever possible, it's always good to encourage your clients to leave reviews and to build up a bank of solid 5-star or 4-star reviews. Now, in terms of we did a bit of research and a bit of maths on this one. So essentially, you can see that the sort of column we've got here on the left, when you've got not so many reviews, say you start off and you've got 3 5-star reviews and 1 4-star review, you've got a very nice average of 4.75. But see what happens when you put a few 1-star reviews in. Very quickly, that average gets affected and goes down. Whereas if you've got, say, 26 reviews and quite a decent bank of 5-star reviews, putting some 1-star reviews in doesn't change the average too much. It's still looking strong, and it's that strength is the sort of resilience that I'm talking about. If you've got a bank of 5-star reviews already in there, and that you're sort of encouraging those throughout, you will essentially have a resilient review score that if you do, because obviously every firm gets 1-star reviews at some point, you essentially are protected, and you've got a bit of an insurance policy built in because you have gone out there and you've built that resilience through getting 5-star reviews and encouraging. And I think it's very important as well. My colleague Lois will talk a little bit about this later on, but there are lots of ways you can build online reviews resilience, and that is one way we do that is by use of a customer satisfaction survey. Now, I'm just going to hand back to Lois, and she can talk a little bit about how we at QS can help with that.
Great. Thanks, Scott. Once again, hi, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. So I'm going to take the next few minutes to talk about something simple but incredibly powerful, which is review management, and more specifically, how your firm can make the most of the client satisfaction survey or the CSS on the website of our partner firms. So, like Scott has been talking about, resilience is really, really important when it comes to review management. You have to build up your bank of positive reviews as much as possible. You have to make sure your firm is getting those 4-star reviews, 5-star reviews as much as possible, so that when you have that 1-star review coming, it's not going to affect your rating. It's not going to have that much of a powerful impact on your review rating. So, one thing I'll also be talking about is online reviews are now one of the first things that potential clients look at before making contact with a law firm. So, we all know that online reviews help to build credibility, and it ultimately influences your potential client's decision to either go with your firm or not. So, having a consistent way to collect and share positive reviews isn't just a nice to have anymore. It is now a must have. And we all know that in this day and age, people are all about, quickly going online, just typing in the name of your firm or typing in what service they need, and then your firm name comes up. And one of the first things they do is to check the experience that other people has had with your firm. People want to know what it feels like to work with your firm. They want to know what other people have to say about your firm. So having that stable, steady way of collecting positive reviews for your firm isn't just a nice to have anymore. It is crucial, it is essential, it is very, very important. So, like I mentioned previously, the customer satisfaction survey, or the CSS as we like to call it, on the website of our partner firms is one of the most easy way to collect reviews for our firms. So I'm going to be sharing my screen where I'll be showing how the customer satisfaction survey works on the back end of the website, um, and then just quickly submit a test email as an example, or just quickly show how it works when people fill out the reviews using the customer satisfaction survey form. So let me just share my screen now in a second. Okay. All right. I believe my screen should be on sharing mode now. Okay, perfect. Okay, so like I mentioned earlier, I'll be briefly talking about how the CSS system works. So when a client completes the customer satisfaction survey form via your firm's website, the feedback doesn't immediately go public. It first goes to the backend system, that's the backend of the website where it can be reviewed. And then from the backend of the website, it gets uploaded directly to the testimonials page on the website. And this is where it gets even smarter, even better. So if a client rates their experience with your firm 4 or 5 stars, they're automatically prompted to also leave a review on Google. So this actually acts as a natural filter. So only the most positive experiences are pushed to your public facing profiles. And this helps, protect your online reputation while still collecting as many feedback as possible from your clients. So this is just a quick test to show you how, you know, it works. So you fill out the client fills out the name, the email address, and then let's just select a random firm. Let's say this firm here. And then how did you feel about our service? Let's say very happy. So what happens is if the client selects very happy or delighted, which stands for 4 stars or 5 stars, it will bring out the prompt after submitting this form. to then leave the review on Google as well. So as you can see, that acts as like a very, very good filter to make sure this 1, 2, 3 stars aren't being left and it doesn't, drop your rating. So only the 4 stars and 5-star reviews are, left on your forms. So how did you hear about us? Let's say repeat client. How likely are you to recommend? Let's say 5, of course. Test, and then click on this and this, and then you're able to submit the feedback. So this will then generate another page where people can actually click a link to go on to your Google page or Google business page, as we call it. And then they'll obviously leave a positive review on there. So I'll just stop sharing my screen now so I can talk a bit further about that over the next couple of minutes. Thank you. All right, perfect. All right. So I'll quickly talk about how to encourage your clients to use your customer satisfaction survey forms as well. Because obviously, as we've seen, as I explained, the form is actually really useful when it comes to filtering out reviews. You obviously want to get as many positive reviews going on to your Google business page as possible. Scott has obviously already talked about the importance of that. So how then do we encourage your clients to use the CSS form as much as possible? So there are a few different ways that some of our firms have adopted when it comes to using the CSS form. So different things would work for different firms, obviously. So you do not have to reinvent the entire wheel. You can just find what works for the workflow of your firm, what you're currently using. Just find what works, depending on what your current process is. So a lot of our firms have found that QR codes actually work when you print your QR code for your CSS form onto the closure survey paper copy. Your clients can simply just point their phones at that and just scan the QR code, them to the CSS form on the page of your website. And we also have some of our firms that also use follow-up emails as well. So you can add a link to the CSS page to the follow-up emails you send your clients after their cases are concluded. And then you also have firms including the link to the CSS page in their email signatures as well. That could also be an option for your firm. And we also have firms that have automated case management systems. When cases for their clients get concluded, it is automatically sent in the closure emails that are forwarded to their clients. So it just depends on what will work for your firms. A lot of our firms find that for older clients, the paper copies might work better because older clients might not necessarily be 100% available to use the online platforms as much as the paper copies. So that could be easier. So it does depend on your client's base and what would actually fit into the current process you have. You do not have to make so much changes or upheave everything you're currently using, but it's just those little ways of incorporating that to your currently existing processes. So I'll also briefly be talking about a couple of questions that some of our firms may have. So I'm going to be adding some polls to the comments section. So if you're listening and if you're not too busy, not multitasking too much, you could just go through the polls in the comment section and please drop a response just so we know your answers to these polls. We know what your pain points are. We know how what your preferences, how your firm would like to handle some of these issues. So I am just dropping
You can see
the
there's a banner
comment
going
to the
along
polls now.
the moment. In
Yes,
terms of, yeah, that's the question as
that's
well. So you can see it there as
perfect.
well.
Yes. Okay, since that's already been displayed, let me just change that. Okay. All right. Perfect. Just one more question. And then in the meantime, I'm going to hand over to Scott. And then as we're listening to Scott, please go through the comments, go through the polls, and just drop in your response option A, B, C, if you can. Thank you.
Yeah, so we've got the one,
Over to you, Scott, for the next section.
of course, no worries. So yeah, so in terms of, I think let's just put that in the comments rather than the private chat.
Okay.
I see Angela as a B. So that's in response to the scrolling banner
Okay.
question, which we'll go for as our first one.
Yeah,
So
perfect.
just to recap for everyone who hasn't caught the sort of scrolling banner, before I go into anything else, would your firm benefit from it automatically encouraging only 4-star and above clients to leave a Google review? That's the latest one. I think, Angela, you may have responded to the previous one that we accidentally put up, and that
Yes,
was
the first
essentially,
one.
that
Yeah.
was all about how you collect Google reviews, which is obviously a valid question.
Yes.
But if you're able to re-put your answer for this one, and basically see if your firm would benefit from collecting those reviews. But yeah, obviously that's yes, Angela, thank you very much. So yeah, while you're mulling over that question, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to talk a little bit about the sort of underlying. I've got a yes from Tia as well. Talk about the stats underlying Google My Business Profile. So when we talk about Google My Business Profiles, essentially that is the sort of the little sort of tab you get on the right hand side. If you Google your firm, you'll see it. Essentially, it will have the review average, and it will and essentially, if you by creating a Google My Business Profile, it's something you as a firm own. You can update that, and you can essentially it's there for people to have a look at, and it's also for you can update it as much as possible. But a great thing that I think quite a lot of firms aren't aware of is that you can see some of the underlying stats of that Google My Business Profile. So you can see how your clients and also members of the public are interacting with your Google My Business page. So I'm just going to share my screen, and I'm just using an example from one of our firms. And essentially, you can see the performance of your Google Business page. Essentially, you just need to go onto the performance tab of it assuming you're an admin user. So essentially, I'm just using a firm at random. Essentially, you can see for this particular Google My Business page, within this time period, you can change this. It's usually within the last 5 or 6 months. So if you wanted to change it, so it was just this year, for instance, so you can see this year, we've got 1,759 business profile interactions. So what that essentially means is that people have interacted with Google Business Profile, and by that we essentially mean they've either clicked on it, they've searched it and it's come up, they've left a review, they've then given you a call. All of the sort of interactions you could have with a Google Business Profile are in this sort of overview business profile interactions, and that you can drill down into that. So essentially, calls. This is quite interesting. So you can see the sort of volume of calls that directly come from someone Googling you. Maybe they've even found you on Google Maps, for instance. They've seen, and they've based on that, they've given you a call right away. So you can see, obviously, you can see like you've got to break down a bit, but by month here. Obviously, May, we're in the first day of May, so you can expect that to be quite low just at the moment. But you can see this is the sort of call volume you're getting, which is directly related to someone interacting with your Google Business Profile. Bookings, a bit less relevant, obviously for law firms, but say if you were a hotel, that would be very relevant in terms of people who directly made a booking through you. Direction requests, this one usually comes a little bit more through Google Maps, but you can sort of see when people are trying to find your offices as part of that. And then you can also see the website clicks as well. So people who have gone from looking at your GMB profile to then going straight to your website to find out more. So you can sort of see a little bit of a customer journey. And it's well worth going through this just to see what happens. Obviously, as part of our yearly reports, we've started integrating this. But it's very interesting to have a look at yourself. So, for instance, if you were getting a lot of calls, but you weren't getting website clicks, for instance, it would be worth checking. Is your website linked on there? Have you got hyperlinks to that? It's always good to make sure that your Google My Business profile is populated as much as possible with as much information as you can give. That opening hours, phone number, make sure it's an up-to-date phone number and a phone number that you want to direct your clients to. It's also, very important you've got website links and things like that. And that might be to a contact us page or the homepage. Think about what is the best sort of landing page for your clients to go to when you're setting that up. And also there's other things you can do to make your GMB profile look more attractive by including up-to-date imagery. If you've got images, a group shot of your staff, that could be a great one to include, or kind of more nuts and bolts, an image of the office building. So people who are looking for directions, for instance, when they are trying to find your office, they can sort of see, okay, that building matches with what I'm seeing, and so I can sort of, if they're coming for an in-person appointment, that can make it a bit easier and a bit more accessible. There's also actually accessibility information on there as well in terms of step-free access and stuff, which might be worth looking at as well, particularly if you have a slightly older client base, obviously who have sort of disabilities or any accommodation needed. But it's important to be, I think, as accessible as possible and to be transparent with your clients just so they can make the appropriate adjustments. So that's pretty much what I was. That I'll stop sharing my screen now, just on the GMB stats side. But I was just thinking, I think it will be quite a good exercise to involve you all in today. If you could open Google and simply Google your firm's name. I'll give you a few minutes to do that. But essentially, I promise this won't be a hard task. But essentially, and then Google your firm and then have a look at what you see. What is the first thing? I've got a few questions here. So obviously you don't have to put these in the chat or anything. This is private to you, but I think it's always very good to have a look at, essentially you're going through a client journey. Essentially, you're sort of seeing what do our potential clients see when they first Google us. So one of the first things I would questions to have a look at is, what is the first thing that you see? Feel free to note these down if you want, but this is private to you. I don't want you don't necessarily have to write it to publicize this anywhere, but yeah, a good thing to know. What is your review average? Because obviously that's obviously a big thing that clients will see and look at and think, okay, this is a sort of indication of the average experience that people are getting. Then if you go on to the reviews themselves, make sure the tab is down to most recent, so you can see the most recent review that you've got. Have a look at when that was. When was your last review? I think this is often overlooked as well, because some people have got, quite a lot of firms have got quite good reviews, but they haven't had a review for maybe a year or so. And a lot of the times clients can have a look at that and think, oh, I'm not sure this can't be that a firm that's that popular, or I'm not sure if they're still open because it's been such a long time since someone left a review that they might be not necessarily equipped to deal with me. So that's something I think it's important to have, to encourage regular reviews as well, because it essentially shows your clients that you're open to business and you're working with a lot of people, and a lot of people are regularly getting feedback. Whereas if your last review is from 5 years ago, it may trigger a bit of a red flag, and people are thinking, well, why haven't they got any reviews earlier than that? And people want to see that obviously things have changed a lot in 5 years. Obviously, that we didn't know what COVID was 5 years ago, so the world has changed quite a lot. So it's important people are seeing sort of up-to-date reviews as much as possible. And also Google really appreciates that. It benefits your Google search algorithm if you are having organic content going onto there, even in terms of reviews. And also, so in terms of that last review, looking at that review just in isolation, what does it say about your business? Think about, if you were seeing that review in isolation, what impression would that give to a client that's, say, looking for legal advice and stumbles across your firm, and that's the first thing they've seen? What sort of impression would that give? So that's just a few things to think about. Obviously, if you have any concerns about your reviews that you're getting recently, there's myself and Lois are always happy to help to put in sort of particular review strategies. But we've talked about the CSS form. There's lots of things you can do to help improve Google reviews. So even if what you're googling yourself and you're not necessarily happy with what you've seen, there's always room for improvement. The great thing about Google reviews is that the landscape can change very quickly. Obviously, we talked about resilience, but things can change for the better as well as the worse quite quickly. But proactive responses to Google reviews really can make a very big impact in quite a short amount of time. So even if you're not necessarily happy with the your Google yourself experience just now, there's always ways to improve. So it's not something to necessarily get too worried about in the short term. It's something we can always help with. So yeah, that's pretty much all I wanted to say on Googling yourself. I just wanted to I'll throw back to you, Lois.
Yeah.
And we'll do a bit of a Q&A if that's okay.
Yes. So just to quickly touch on the polls I asked before, because obviously I saw that Angela and Tia did give answers to that poll. But in the meantime, I'm going to just pop in a comment while we talk about the answers you guys gave. You can just mull over this comment I just left. What topic would you find most valuable for us to cover in the next webinar? So please, guys, feel free to drop the answers to that, what you think would be very, very valuable for your firm, in the comment section, so that we'll go over that QS and then put that into consideration for the next webinar. So Angela and Tia, you mentioned yes, that would be a game changer to the question, would your firm benefit from automatically encouraging only 4 and 5-star clients to leave a Google review? Then this is one of the reasons why we brought up the customer satisfaction survey and that process of filtering the reviews. So if you guys want to talk more about that after the webinar, please feel free to drop us a message. But just bear in mind that yes, that would absolutely indeed be a game changer, because obviously that would help so much with your resilience, and it will help with the number of ratings you have, the number of reviews and overall rating you have as well. Also, Angela answered yes. Sorry, option B, follow-up emails to how does your firm currently collect clients' feedback. I mean, we have found that follow-up emails does work quite a lot for a lot of our firms. When people see those follow-up emails, it's quite easy for a lot of people to just click on that and then, find the link to either a review page or customer satisfaction survey form, whatever it is you have set up. So that is one of the most efficient way to collect clients feedback. Also, the next thing I wanted to talk about was kind of going back to what you mentioned earlier, Scott, but from the angle of competitor analysis. So you were previously talking about how, if your last review was maybe 5 years ago, that might make people think twice, before using your service. And if you think about that from the angle of what your competitors are doing, you don't want to be left behind. You don't want to be that firm that their last review was 5 years ago and your competitors are having reviews as recent as last week, as recent as a couple of days back. That difference is definitely massive. And then if you're having potential clients checking through reviews, seeing that difference between yourself, your firm, and your competitors would influence their choice. It would definitely go a long way in influencing their choice. So this is also one of the reasons why you have to make sure your review management is as effective as possible. And then another thing I wanted to talk about is quite a lot of our firms have said to us, oh, okay, but we do have word of mouth. We do still have clients coming in, even irrespective of despite the fact that we have a very low rating, we have people using word of mouth to, tell other people about our firm. But let me ask you a question, Scott. This is
Of
actually for
course,
you,
yes. Put
Scott.
me on the
Yes.
spot. Go for it.
So if you have a friend that has told you about a company or a service, and they've sworn their services are very effective, the best they've ever used,
Mhm.
and then you go to their Google business page and you see that their rating is maybe a 2.0 out of a 5.0, would that make you second guess their services? Would that make you think twice and question and question their services and go, okay, am I missing something? Their services
Yeah.
cannot possibly be that good if they have that kind of rating. So even though you have the word of someone that's trusted, that has firsthand experienced their service, I mean, that's such a wide difference going to their GMB and then
Mhm.
seeing people leaving very, very negative reviews and seeing their late rating very, very low. What would you think about that?
I would probably be doubting that friend's advice, to be perfectly
Yeah.
honest. I think particularly, like I said, my generation, but I know a lot of other people do this as well. It's part of your due diligence process. Like I say, if my mum
Yes.
recommended something and I had a look at the reviews and so they were really bad, I'd probably think twice. Like I say, it's part. Like I say, word of mouth does help, and there's definitely a role for it, but
Mm-hmm.
it can definitely be it can be superseded quite quickly by the online landscape, and I guess
Yeah.
we have seen a shift in generations in terms of how they make purchasing decisions, and this isn't just for law firms; this is for every business. Essentially, that online landscape is the first place that people go to in terms of looking stuff. They're not necessarily looking through the yellow pages anymore. They're not
Mm,
necessarily looking around the high street and seeing what's around. It's very much an online landscape that everyone is competing in terms of purchasing decisions. So it's word of mouth is still very important. It's still very important to obviously for your clients to tell their friends about and family about how great the service is. But it's important that the online landscape essentially you can see the views of 500 people in one scroll, whereas you're not going to get that much
exactly.
social proof just through word of
Exactly.
mouth.
Exactly.
So please do tell us obviously what topic you would like us to cover in either the next webinar or future webinars. If anything else that you would like us to go through. Obviously, we work with so many different firms, and
Yeah.
we've developed such a bank of knowledge in terms of what we see work and what we see doesn't work. One thing I want to talk about very quickly, unfortunately, Damien's not under the weather today and won't be able to join us for this. However, he was going to talk a little bit about local search, and there's quite a few things we can do in terms of competitor analysis, how you are ranking in your local area on Google My Business, on Google Maps as well. So if you would be interested in looking at some of the research we've done, essentially that we can essentially build essentially a bit of a bank of research into how you are competing with your firms in your local area, in your town, in your region. Essentially, there's ways we can have a little look at how you are competing and how competitive you are in your local area. So if that's something you'd be interested in, do let us know. That's something we can definitely help with in terms of how you are looking, so local search wise. So yeah, anything else from you, Lois? I think that's
Yeah,
covered.
that's pretty much
We've
everything.
taken half an
One
hour of your
last
time.
Yeah, we've taken more than enough of their time. So one last thing I wanted to mention is obviously for people that are listening, if your firm isn't actively using the CSS, or if you like help incorporating it into your current process, please feel free to reach out after this session. We'll be more
Yeah.
than happy to help you tailor the CSS to your firm. And also, if you think you want to make amendments to your current review management strategy, obviously, Scott and myself are here for you. Please feel free to drop us an email. Feel free to contact us. I will be more than happy to help.
Like I said, we just hope that this is hope potentially you might have learned something new, but essentially open your eyes to the importance of online review management, some ways that you can get more 5-star reviews, and how you
Yeah.
can how that can benefit your firm going forward. So
Yes,
so
that's it today from us.
that's I just want to thank you again, everyone, for coming. and have a great rest of your day. And thank you for joining us.